almost at the end of this three-part video series to help you through your PLD application. And today we are going to dive deeper into question 12 to 16, which are the last questions on the PLD application. Oh, I'm sorry, Mark. Yeah, hi, Mark. Good. Hello, how are you doing?
I'm still here. Yep, pressing the buttons. Carry on.
Yeah. Anyway, so we are going to jump straight into question 12. Next slide. So we're going to look at how will you measure if this PLD is successful? How will it contribute to growing your kaiako, teachers, school leaders, or tumuaki? And what additional skills or high impact practices will they have? Blah, 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 blah. Wow, that is a lot, isn't it? So you kind of go, what are they even talking about? But guess what? I'm here to help you with that. So the focus of today's session is to remove all that jargon. And this is all about data. Data. So it helps us tell an accurate story. So question 12 is telling you, if you're successful with your application, how are you going to measure whether the support you're given is successful? So how is it going to grow not only the students, but the staff and your school? Are there going to be any measures that you put in place from the beginning so that you can be really clear about the impact the sport has? So you'll notice in the third column there, we talked about that we could be a way that you could use surveys before, during, and after the contract finishes. So that could be feedback that we give as a PLD provider or that your PLD provider gives. And we do that really nicely, don't we, Mark? We don't come in and go, rah. No, so we don't do that. Mark, do we? We don't do that.
No, we don't. No, obviously it's a given. I think too we've got a couple of survey tools that we provide for schools as part of that measurement. And in the first video we talked about how you gather the evidence of the need that you have in your school, and that can be one of the ways. And so you can just link back to that in this one, can't you, Bex? Because you can say, well, we're going to carry on with that, and that'll tell us that what we're doing is working or not, and we can adjust and pivot. So we've got tools to be able to help you with that, and you can have that in this application.
So we need to ask where the areas that the teachers or students or both the community are all feeling the least confident or the least aware, and how are you able to build on that? And this is an area that we're really passionate about UTB. We love growing people and seeing that growth. So so as Mark mentioned, we've got a range of different surveys and tools that we can use to adapt to your school. So I'll give you an example. One of our schools really wanted to collect student voice, but they felt they wanted to target specifically in some areas that they had goals. So you can be including that, or you can talk about the fact that you might have some staff undertaking informal or low pressure observations to really highlight the growth that's happening. And you can also use some great anecdotal feedback via collecting baseline data, which is super important because you can see where you want to add value. So how are we going to measure whether the support that you're given is successful? How is it going to grow not only the students but the staff in your school? And what measures are you going to put in place from the beginning that will show impact of the PLD? So that's in easier terms what that question is about.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because in one sense they're asking you to outlay the whole journey and what it's going to look like, before you even get the support to develop the journey and go on the journey. So I think that's where sometimes connecting with a company like ours, or facilitators like ours, and I think you're one of the greatest at this, Bex, just tooting your own horn, that you can actually jump in and have a little bit of a consultation session to help them work that out. Because for a lot of schools, they don't know where to start, and it's and I think the ministry understands that it's almost like a juxtaposition, if I can use that word, where they understand that schools need the support to be able to make some progress, but they're saying you need to have a plan for that progress before we even give you that support. And so there's a little bit of, you're kind of like in a catch-22 situation. So jumping on a call with one of us and we can help you through that.
And absolutely. And I do hear, it's too hard, this is too hard all the time, but I promise you that we can help you make it easier. it sometimes can look overwhelming, and the first time I did one of these, it took me probably a year to actually do it, because I was like, oh, it's just too hard. But now we've got the swing of things, we're here to help, we can make it happen for you. So how will this PLD contribute to growing your akonga and your students? So this doesn't have to be in reinventing the wheel, all right? So this is one thing I want you to think about. So for example, a teacher was feeling really reluctant to engage in PLD, and this is something that happens often. So instead of making it an on top of, which it's absolutely not, we use this as part of her teacher inquiry and using her professional growth cycle. So for example, her question was, I'm looking to motivate learners that engage she used the terms tail end data of the learners in her classroom. So our trainers were able to work with her on that specific goal, so not add another thing on, and we really supported the process and made it meaningful. So yeah, it doesn't have to be an additional thing. Another example is that we've worked with lots of students around literacy needs. So we've used digital tools to remove that barrier so they can show what they know and experience success. And I have seen this firsthand, and I tell you what, it's one of those moments you go, oh, this is why I got into education. When you see those moments of pure joy in those kids, especially I'm picturing a little girl who was dyslexic, and we gave her some tools around reading and writing using a Chrome extension, and so those kinds of things. And we've worked with groups and student leaders who facilitate workshops for students. So that student agency, so really upskilling the digital fluency and taking that leadership role and supporting staff in those skills. So there's lots of different ways there. Do you want to add anything to that, Mark?
Yeah, no, I think just those bullet points down the right-hand side, give you some indicators of some examples of things that you could be talking about. But like I said, all of that is something that you can discuss with one of us or, with UBEX, and we can help you unpack what that looks like.
I'll just give a final example about this, and it's something that I actually did with Mark at my school. So we worked when we do it with a number of schools where we help create digital progressions. So there's a clear understanding across the school what we're aiming for. What does it look like when the learner leaves our school? What do we want them to be confident in? What are the tools we want them to take away? What does it look like by the end of year 2 or year 4? And what does this look like by the end of year 6 or year 8? And really working alongside and creating that framework so teachers can feel clarity about the path and that they play in that journey. So that's another sort of example of what that might look like. And it gives the teacher a really clear indication of what they need to get through. And yeah, so that's another way we can kind of answer that question. So if we look at the tips on question 13, so yeah, it doesn't have to be an add-on. It's to complement what's already going on in the school. Think about how it can support additional needs. Those progressions can enhance clarity and teacher confidence to take risks. And so this PLD will incidentally give them confidence to take risks in other areas of learning. Alrighty, so we're just going to look at 14 and 15 here. So 14 is how does the proposal connect with other professional learning in your cluster or your kura school kahi or ako that's undertaking. So what they're asking here is how does this proposal connect to what else you're doing? So not only in your own school, but kahi ako. So this is to ensure you're not overcommitting and that there's a link and a connection and things that are going on to complement your existing commitments and not compete against them, which is where you hear the teachers feel like overwhelmed because they've got too much going on. This is, so that's just to check in on that. So for example, you might have just come off a contract with the Kahui Code that we did X, Y, and Z. So this PLD is the next step where you could be going and discuss that you see this professional learning is supporting that in a way that's going to be able to utilize that previous learning. So whether it's local curriculum design or whether it's communication tools with whānau or it's a greater access to storytelling or sharing, that's where you're answering the question. So remember to remove that jargon.
And I think this is the perfect question to talk about the fact that, the technology that we can help you develop efficacy and some ways of using in your classroom. We talk about it being a lever, and so whatever journey you've been on, like you're saying, if it's structured literacy or you've been working on your assessment for learning, it's the technology that can actually help embed that practice into your classroom with your teachers and just sort of continue that journey, because the ministry want to see that history of progression through the professional learning that you've been doing, and they want to see it continue, and they want to, if they've already invested X amount of their funding pool in your school around a particular area, they want to see that succeed and continue on. And if you're making a really clear link with this digital fluency or digital capabilities move, then that's perfect for them. They see that as a win-win.
Okay, and we're jumping over to 15. So how will your school kura kahuiako or cluster contribute to this proposal and its ongoing impact? So this is, have you identified, these are some things that you can consider. So lead teachers within your school that are going to take on ownership in the sustainability building throughout the process. And we have spoken about that in a previous video with certified leadership. So we run a program that can help with that. Have you put aside staff meeting time? Have you put aside teacher only day? Have you funded release staff? Have you put aside, so it doesn't have to be, you don't have to fill the box up with stuff. So it doesn't have to be 250 characters, which I'll touch base on at the end of this. It could just simply be, we've just had a school that's had 200 hours allocated to them, and all they wrote was they put aside one teacher only day, 10 minutes every staff meeting next term, half a day release for one staff member to work directly with the provider, and a certified leadership program. So it was clear, detailed and specific, but it doesn't have to be every tiny little bit of data.
No, it's just like what skin have you got in the game? So what commitment level is your school going to put towards this PLD? So they want to make sure that it's almost like a guarantor, really, that you're going to take this PL seriously, and it's going to become something that you're going to commit some resources to, because it is a reasonable amount of funding that these applications can end up resulting in. So the ministry want to make sure, and those panels want to make sure that it's part of your professional learning and you guys are committed to it. So yeah, it's a good question to be answering. Yeah, absolutely.
Do we have some tips and tricks? We do.
Yeah.
So how does it connect? How does it connect, making sure you're not overcommitting, and how does it relate? And the question 15 tip is, I don't know. Yes. So just identify the leads. Ask yourself if you're going to put it in staff meeting time, teacher only day, release for staff. And have you put aside time for your leadership team to work together on this as well? And we are at question 16 here.
Last one.
It is the last one. So this is where the panel are looking for specific links to either your charter, your annual plan, or your strategic aims. So they're looking to say, is this an aside from the direction that you're going, or is this going to absolutely help you achieve those goals? So for this one, I've seen a school say it's clearly in goal number 4, and please see attached. And that's literally all they write in it. So you can just attach the strategic aim and just relate which goal it relates to, and put your pretty strategic plan or your one pager in there.
Yeah, and probably of all of them, this is probably the most critical, because it needs to be showing that it's part of the focus that you're making overall, so everything links together and it's not like a one-off or just an aside like you're saying. So this is quite a critical one.
And I always say to principals or DPs that I'm working with, because essentially what happens is that a senior leadership team gets tasked with one of those goals, right? And so what we do is we help that happen rather than you having to do it on your shoulders. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I've got these 2 massive goals that I've got to have by the end of the year, and I've still got to do all my admin, and I've still got to do all this and this and this. And then I met Mark, and he saved me, and I lost a lot of wrinkles. It was great. So absolutely the best way to do it. But we are going to finish off, Mark, now with some final tips and tricks. So those are the last two, question 16. So strategic plan and see attached.
Yep.
That's all we need to know there. Final tips. Okay, so in the boxes on the ESL portal, it is a 250 word count. So the portal will simply cut you off if you go beyond that 250 number limit. the thing is that can put yourself in the regional panel's shoes. Do you want to read lots and lots of pages about this? Probably not. But if you do want to attach anything, remember, see attached. So if you do want to enhance it with more words, that's the tip there.
Yeah.
We can hold your hand through this draft application. So we can check the word limit on we've got this created this doc, which you would have seen snippets of before, and you can use the Google tools or the word tools to check the word limit. So go through and make sure that you've got enough words, or not too many words. And then you literally just copy and paste the answers in that doc onto the ESL portal. So it's so much more easier that way. Another key piece of advice is that portal can be very clunky. So if you want to finish your application in one sitting and not have to keep going back and back and back, doing it through the doc is the best way to do it. It can become really confusing. So that I definitely suggest doing it on a doc of some description first. Don't go overboard. As I said before, they're just like yourselves. They don't want to be reading through pages. And remember that see attached is your friend. So if you've got the ability to attach data you've collected, strategic plans, examples of where you're going, photos of whiteboards, anything to help you out, you just simply pop see attached in that box and include it in the application.
And do you think if a school's going through this application and they just got a hunch that maybe they haven't got as robust a system or a process, or there's some thinking that they want help with, then that's what they can do. They can reach out to us. We can jump on for a 30, 45 minute online session, or we can do it in person if one of our trainers are in town, and just take people through that process. Create a Jamboard, do some thinking, explore some options, help you with some measurement tool. If you need to gather some data, we can do that as well. So that's definitely a help that's there, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it doesn't have to be hugely onerous. So the main thing is that we can remove the barriers. We can help you out with this. Just give me a contact on the next slide, Bex at Using Technology Better. We can work out a time that suits the two of us to get on a call, chat through it, and we will be away. And just remember, these are always due on week 2 or 3 of each term, so you've got 4 chances. But if you're looking at next year getting things ready to go, now is the ultimate time to be doing it.
And why is it the ultimate? Is it because of the contract time? It's because of the regional? Just explain why term, because in my head sometimes as a leader you're thinking, the last thing I want to do is apply for one of these in term 4. Why is term 4 a good time?
Right, great question. So the applications get analysed and allocated in week 6, 7, or 8, depending. Actually, we're up to they're running a bit late at the moment. So that means the hours will come through. You can sort out the teacher-only days for the start of next year. We can take those off your plate. We can tailor them around whatever you need, and so you can just have all of the next year ready to go and off your plate, so you can enjoy your Christmas with your family.
Fantastic. Let's go.
Neat. All right, thank you so much for coming along, Mark, and pressing the buttons, and reach out to us. We're here for you. Have a fabulous day. Mā te wā.